What tactics were used in the Siege of Leningrad? Imagine a city under siege, where every road is blocked and every supply line cut. This was the reality for Leningrad during World War II. The Siege of Leningrad lasted nearly 900 days, from September 1941 to January 1944. The tactics used by the Axis powers were designed to isolate the city and force its surrender without a direct assault. First and foremost, encirclement was key. German and Finnish forces worked together to completely surround Leningrad. By early September 1941, they had severed the railway link between Leningrad and Moscow. Finnish troops advanced from the north, sealing off the city. This encirclement cut off food, fuel, and other essential supplies, leaving the residents and defenders isolated. Next, the Axis powers focused on cutting supply lines. They targeted key transportation routes, including railways and roads. The capture of towns like Schlisselburg completed the blockade. This tactic aimed to starve the city into submission, as the blockade stopped food, fresh water, and electricity from reaching Leningrad. Artillery and air bombardment played a significant role as well. The city faced continuous shelling from heavy artillery positioned around it. Air raids caused widespread destruction, especially in the initial months. Between September and November 1941, around 80% of bombings occurred, damaging infrastructure, factories, and hospitals. This relentless bombardment inflicted civilian casualties and created a climate of fear. Psychological warfare was another tactic employed by the Germans. They dropped leaflets over the city, claiming the Soviet Union had already been defeated. This was an attempt to demoralize both the civilians and the defenders. The blockade was intended as a weapon of starvation, with German planners believing the city would surrender within weeks. Interestingly, the Germans avoided a direct urban assault. Initially, they planned to capture Leningrad, but they soon realized that occupying the city would require feeding its population. Instead, they opted for a strategy focused on encirclement and attrition, aiming to starve the city over time. On the other hand, the Soviet defenders were not without their own tactics. They mobilized regular troops and civilian militias to defend the city. They constructed defensive lines, such as the Luga defensive line, to slow the German advance. Despite severe shortages, the Soviets maintained a defensive presence to protect the city. One of the most remarkable aspects of the siege was the Road of Life. This was a supply route across the frozen Lake Ladoga during winter months. It allowed for limited transport of food and the evacuation of civilians, providing some relief from the blockade. In summary, the Siege of Leningrad was marked by strategic encirclement, cutting off supplies, continuous bombardment, and psychological tactics aimed at forcing the city's surrender. The resilience of the defenders and limited supply routes helped the city withstand the siege, making it one of the longest and most destructive sieges in modern warfare history.